Greetings and welcome to the Industrial Lens Podcast. Here we examine cutting-edge insider knowledge on industrial equipment, strategy, and trends so that you can thrive and stay ahead of any challenges, seen or unseen. Now, let's get industrial.
Welcome to the Industrial Lens Podcast. This is another episode. My name's Eric Hassan with Caster Connection, and I'm sitting here with Mr. Joe Lydon. Good morning, Joe.
Good morning, Eric. Thank you.
Thanks for coming in this lovely rainy day here in Columbus, Ohio. So today we've got two wonderful guests. One is Curtis Harris, and the other is Boyd King. Curtis Harris is currently the Vice President of Sales at JTec Industries. Curtis began his career in the OEM manufacturing world with Ford Motor Company. And then Curtis went on to hold multiple operational positions with Case New Holland, AGCO, and Chegg. And Curtis has spent the last 5 years leading the sales team at JTec Industries. Good morning, Curtis. Glad to have you. Thanks for hopping on.
Good morning, sir. It's good to be here.
Thanks. And then Boyd King is the National Account Manager for JTec Industries. Boyd is a material handling industry veteran who's held a variety of roles from sales, operations, and management in the automotive sector, and has spent the last 13 years with JTec working in the sales. Good morning, Boyd.
Morning, Eric. Thanks for having us.
Well, thanks for hopping on. So, gentlemen, first question, if you guys don't mind just explaining, what does JTec Industries do?
Curtis, leave that one all in your hands.
Yeah, so our main focus is on industrial material handling cart systems. So we have 4 main product lines. The Carrymatic product line is going to make up all of our autonomous solutions. Carry More product line is going to be a mechanical mother-daughter tugger cart system. And then we have 2 product lines that get into the tongue and hitch applications, which is going to be the Carry Light and Carry Max product lines. And that's going to be more of your traditional standard tongue and hitch cart designs. So we are fully 100% integrated. So we have back shops that we have tube lasers, fiber optic lasers, brake presses, weld, and then we go into our own powder system, and then full assembly. So we're pretty much 100% vertically integrated. We've got a 20 person engineering team to do all of our own custom designs. So we pretty much have the full run of being able to design any cart system for any application out there in the material handling world.
So you're basically a one-stop shop. You guys do everything yourselves. Everything is in-house. You don't outsource anything, correct?
That is correct. The only thing that with the autonomous side, I mean, we have some purchase components, obviously, with all of the electronics. But from a design standpoint and an assembly, we are 100% JTec. We don't outsource anything for any of those design purposes.
Awesome. And just so everyone out there listening, you said the word autonomous. So what does autonomous exactly mean? Just so everyone can understand what we're talking about before we get into, the meat and bones of this.
Autonomous is basically taking the human factor out. So autonomous is, in our instance, is moving material without human interaction.
Okay, very good. So when you guys are out in the field, who is going to benefit the most, from one of the solutions that you all offer? So like if you're out in the field and someone's looking for an autonomous solution, who's the best end user for your product line?
Eric, everyone moves material, be it finished goods, be it work in process, whatever the case may be. So every application is going to be a little bit different, but anyone can benefit. I think maybe our strengths are moving product in and around a plant to point of use, taking away finished goods from the end of production lines to warehouses, and then of course in any warehouse application that they're moving product, usually long distances, but on a repetitive nature. So it varies. It's all over the place, but anyone that moves material, there's potential they can benefit from it.
Eric, the way we're structured, I mean, when we get an invite to go see a plant and meet with a team, we're gonna fill out a scope of work document, and that's kind of when we determine what the application is that the end user is trying to accomplish, and then we guide them into what product line, what system would work best for their operation and their specific application that they're trying to have a solution for. So a lot of the times we have to help them get out of their own way, right? So everybody can throw around the buzzwords and lean manufacturing and autonomous and think that that's the direction that they should go. But if we walk into an operation and they're running 65 forklifts and they don't even have a standard route set up for a delivery method, then we're going to strongly try and steer them towards a mechanical solution in the beginning, because you have to have your standard routes established. You have to understand what your call outs are, how that's working with your own WMS system. I mean, you have to have a pretty good core foundation of running routes and delivering material with tuggers before you should jump into just an autonomous solution, because that takes it to a whole nother level of complexity. So that's kind of what our account managers do in the very beginning of the process with a customer, is we're going to go in there and we're going to determine what their scope of work is. What are they trying to solve in this particular application, and then we're going to help guide them into the correct product line that best suits their operation.
That's very helpful, Curtis. From a footprint standpoint, is there like a sweet spot for Carrymatic, or a minimum square footage facility? I know, Boyd, you said that it is case by case, but is there, are you guys looking for a specific type of facility that you would go in with the thought that it might be a good candidate for Carrymatic?
Not necessarily. Um, the longer the routes, the more involved the routes. I think that it builds a stronger case, but it could be based on the weight of the product moving, the frequency of the product moving. So no, I mean, I think that we just, as Curtis said earlier, I think we just need to be able to go in and look at the processes and help the customer with the scope of work to determine whether it is beneficial or not.
Very good.
To go back to what Curtis mentioned, because Curtis mentioned there's a lot of info in his last comment, and just for everyone out there listening, so let's just say I'm Acme Company, and I've never tugged anything. I've used forklifts, for the past 30 years, and I want to start tugging, or I want to use autonomous. So kind of walk us through that process. So my guess is there's folks out there listening that are probably struggling with this, and let's let's help them understand that initial process, because you mentioned you can't just jump into autonomous. You need to have routes and everything kind of established. So how does someone start from, basically ground zero, and then what does that plan look like? Timelines, that sort of thing.
In my opinion, the number one baseline starting point for anybody that is getting into um, looking at starting the tugging operation, you have to have your PFEP filled out completely, and that's a plan for every part. And this is the very mundane, boots on the ground, very tedious, and it takes a lot of time to establish it. But to stay at a very high level of what a PFEP is, it's pretty much the story of every single part that you install on your unit, on whatever you're building, and it's across every single model platform. And it's going to break down all of your dunnage sizes, the weight of the part, the dimensions of the part, and all of the usages that are called out for that particular part on every single model that you put it on. And so when you think about how big that project could be for some of these operations, like when I was at AGCO, our combines had 7,500 parts on the bill of material. That's 7,500 parts just for a particular combine model. So when you look at how many parts that can be, it's a very very large undertaking for somebody to get that established. Most people have that started. Most people are 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 already, the information is already there within their systems. You just have to gather it and analyze it. But that's really your starting point to determine, all right, how do I deliver all of this material? Because everything's not going to go on a standard route, right? You're going to break down how things are delivered and how many quantities you are delivering to the operator. And that's got to be determined by the operation. We can help them, we can help guide them, we can give them suggestions, but I can't tell you that you should put 2 hours of this size material on the line or this usage of material on the line and 4 hours of this and 6 hours of that. I don't know everybody's operation and how all the intricate parts are working on the assembly line if I'm not working there. So we can help guide them and help with some of the rails that we can put in to keep them in the correct lane, but they have to make some determining decisions on, hey, all right, we're going to put 4 hours of material on the line, and that's where we're going to start. Instead of putting 6 days worth or 12 days worth, when you just grab a KD with a forklift and you go put 400 hoses on the line, you go, there you go, call me next week. Those are the kind of things that people are trying to get away from. Bring that material back to the warehouse, decant it, and give the operator whatever you determined. I'm going to put 2 hours worth of that hose on the line. Now I'm delivering that hose in a standard route every 2 hours. I'm going to deliver it. And then the end all goal is to start pushing your inventory back to the supplier. So it's getting that money off of your books and not having so much inventory on hand. That's one of the main goals and focuses of setting up standard routes and pulling the material off the line and delivering it in whatever you determine is best for your operation. And then you look at how much material you got and you go, wow, we used to deliver this in a bundle of 400, and now we're only delivering it at 20, and I've got 4,000 on hand. I can stop ordering it so frequently.
Yeah.
And that's one of the goals from an inventory standpoint when they're setting up the standard routes in their delivery. That's one of the focuses that you're trying to get to. And then it's determining how many delivery points is each route going to have, how frequently are they going out there, so I can determine how many routes I need. And that gets into, let's say they're going to go mechanical, carry more mother daughter to begin with, then we're going to help them determine, okay, how many mother carts do you need in each route? And then what is your daughter cart ratio to deliver? So if I'm going to put 5 mother carts in a route, so I'm going to tug 5 mother carts behind the tugger. Each one of those mother carts is going to have a daughter cart in it for delivery. I'm going to have a daughter cart out online that the operator's working out of, and I'm probably going to have one back behind the scenes in the warehouse in process or whip. Then that's a 3-to-1 ratio. So those are the kind of things that we help determine and define for a customer when they're setting up their routes. And that can bleed right into the autonomous side, right? So just imagine those deliveries that are done with an operator and exchanging daughter carts on the assembly line. I'm just bringing out that material, and I'm transferring it autonomously without a person to that same point of use, or I'm grabbing a finished good from that same point of use. So those two things are kind of interchangeable when it comes to the design standpoint, but the plan for every part is really the baseline of making these decisions on setting up your standard routes and how often you have to run each route.
Curtis, is that one of the point that you just brought up in regards to like reduction in inventory and parts on hand? Is that one of the main variables that you guys discuss when you're talking about ROI on when these facilities or companies are looking to make that investment and in both time and capital in changing the way that they handle material?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's some key factors that go into your ROI. One of them is definitely inventory and inventory on hand, and how much. I mean, when you actually put that under a microscope, most people are absolutely shocked at how much inventory dollar amount they have on the assembly line before they start this. Like, so when you do your PFEP and you go out there and you determine, I deliver 400 of this and 800 of this and 1,000 of this, you start adding all that up, just the reduction of that from the assembly line and getting it off the line is part of your ROI, and then pushing it back to where you're not ordering as much. It's really the hits the bottom line.
Sure.
And then there's there's factors that go into the ROI with forklift and maintenance and safety factors that we put into it. Forklifts are extremely dangerous, and they, according to OSHA, they're in the top 1 to 2 for recordables and lost time injuries every single year across the board. So there's different factors that go into that ROI, but most people are looking for a payback
Sure.
in that 12 to 18 month time frame for a project like this.
Yeah, and it's good that you have those tangible things, because a lot of the benefits with making changes, a lot of it's intangible, which is important for a lot of the guys that are on the floor. But when making a big investment or a capital decision, it's great that you guys are focusing on things that you can make calculations on, so you can justify that purchase. So that's excellent to hear.
Yeah, and you gotta make sure that they understand that it's okay to put a soft cost in there with your hard cost when it comes to your ROI. And that's where a lot of people kind of struggle or stumble on. Your soft cost is important too, right? And that soft cost would be defined like your safety ratios, the the number that you're going to put on for your incidents that you've had, your lost time recordables that are associated with delivering material with a forklift. That's a soft cost, right? I
Hmm.
can't really put my hand on it, but I know that it's there, and I know how many recordables I've had, how many injuries I've had, and I know how many lost time cases I've had associated with those forklifts. And then that's how you determine what that soft cost could be. And then there's hard cost, which is actually like how much is my maintenance to service my fleet every month for the forklifts, which is astronomically higher than a tugger, right? A forklift has all these moving parts. It's got hydraulics. It's got hoses. A tugger is literally a box with a battery and a steering wheel. It really never breaks unless they do something wrong. Its sole purpose is to just tug, just pull. So it's a battery and a steering wheel.
Do you,
So your operating cost and your fleet maintenance cost from an ROI standpoint goes way down once somebody starts tugging. So it's just helping them put all that together, determining their soft cost, their hard cost, and really just helping them compile all the data to get an ROI filled out for them.
do you guys sell equipment that integrates with tuggers or forklifts? I'm just kidding, Curtis.
And Curtis, you really didn't even touch with all those good points on the efficiency gain by moving 4 or 5 loads at a time versus a single load with a forklift.
Sure.
So there's a lot that goes into that ROI.
When it comes up that maybe I'm working on the floor or I'm driving a forklift at Acme Company and I see you two guys walking around talking about tuggers and tugger carts. Is there a struggle with the team, the associates on the floor when you're making that switch? From all these forklifts running around, all these people. Oh, they're just trying to get rid of me. They don't want to adopt the new system. Like, what are there big challenges there when it comes to management trying to implement a new tugger system versus having all these forklifts on the floor?
Oh, that struggle is real. There's no doubt. And it gets even more real when you get into the autonomous side. So the operators can understand the tuggers and the routes that they're setting up, and I think the majority of the time the biggest struggle there is you have an operator that drives a forklift. They sit down in that seat when the bell rings and they don't get out of that seat except at break and lunch, and then they go home. And when you set a standard route up, you say, hey, you're going to stand on this tugger, and every single delivery point you're going to get off, you're going to unload a daughter cart, you're going to push it to the operator, you're going to grab the empty, you're going to push it back on, and then you're going to take off. And they're like, yeah, I'm not doing that. So there's definitely a struggle there when it comes to just the way it operates. And then of course, to Boyd's point, one of our goals is efficiency gains because we're taking more material out each route and we're running them more often. So our goal is to eliminate forklift operations and eliminate how many operators I need to deliver the same material. Now, we're not ever looking to displace that person. We're just going to reallocate that head. And everybody knows how hard it is finding operators at this point in time and keeping them and retaining them. So if I can reallocate headcount within my operation and I don't have to go out on the street, then that's a big win in today's world. But then when that graduates to a whole new level when you start talking about autonomous, because when an operator sees that you're going to run an AMR or you're going to run a VGV and I'm just out there delivering material and I'm picking up finished goods and I'm moving all this material around in the operation and I don't have a person in sight or interacting with any of that at any time, then that takes that frustration and takes it to a whole new level within an operation that they have to figure out how to get everybody on board with.
Oh, I'm sure it's a constant problem. um,
There's opportunity there too, and it's all in how you deliver the message, and that companies are looking to gain efficiency, and that's going to lead to opportunity for the a different skill set in the workforce as well.
Now, on the flip side of that, the operators at line side love the idea because they're getting smaller loads put in in a lot more ergonomic positions when they need them. So to them, it makes their job easier. So there is a flip side to that frustration that we're talking about as well.
Speaking of ergonomics, you guys sell mother-daughter carts. When you guys are out there in the field, do you see a tremendous amount of ergonomic issues when it comes to pushing carts, or just having to design carts and keeping them ergonomic from handles and heights and all that sort of thing? Do you run into a lot of ergonomic challenges out there the past couple of years?
Absolutely. That's one of the larger points of the cell, and that's one of the things that I think JTec does extremely well is look at that ergonomic side of tugging. And it is a fight, it is a challenge the whole way to get that ergonomics. I mean, in the older days, it was how big of a container you got, how many parts can you hold in it, move it with a fork truck, and there's limits to what people can push and how they should push it. And so ergonomics is always a challenge.
The right caster can really solve a lot of that.
You don't say.
Put the right caster package on there, and man, it
Right.
does wonders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Right.
Boyd, to piggyback on your point about the ergonomics of moving material, it's not even how far you can, a person be pushed, but how far can a person be pushed safely, without inviting the risk of injury in there. There's always the risk of injury, in anything that you do in the workplace. But if you can limit that risk, by taking ergonomics into consideration, and being and working with JTec, it's clear that you guys have listened to the end user and figured out ways that you can move material safely. And as Curtis mentioned, the casters do make a big part in that, especially when you're talking about manually pushing around carts that have significant weight on them, and that's just one aspect of things to consider when you're tugging and then offloading in the mother-daughter carts, and then hand operating dollies throughout a facility. And there's a lot to it, and that's what you guys are there out in the field having these conversations. And it goes back to your original point about, really it's a case-by-case scenario, and you need to evaluate the applications, what they're currently using, where they want to go, and what's the path to get there. And there's probably a varying level of steps where I think that you said it, Curtis, people might want to jump really far to the end destination, and that's not always the best route, because you're going to have a lot of pain, getting to that point.
Yeah. There's a couple other things that we look at, or that we focus on, in that ergo assessment. Repetitive is a big one. How often am I having to do this on a daily basis? That can put you kind of in different levels of where we fall in that ergo strike zone, or in the push pull world. So if I have an operator that has to pull something off of the cart that's shoulder high, but I only have to do it twice a day, then those are kind of determining factors that you can look at. If I have to do that 100 times a day, then I need to get it lower. If I have to do it once or twice a day, then I can get away with it being up there at shoulder height, because I'm only doing it once or twice. And then there's design factors that we've taken into account when it comes to push pull. So we have push assist units that are compatible with our carts. So they actually hook onto the cart, and it's just a walk behind unit that it pushes and pulls the weight for you. And then we've actually designed lift mother carts that you push the daughter cart into the bay of the mother cart, and the casters stay on the ground. And then I have two actuators on the side built into the mother cart, and I just kick a button on the mother, and then I raise the the daughter cart off the ground. And that takes away that spike of pushing the daughter cart up into a mechanical mother cart. That's eliminated because I keep the casters on the ground when I push it into the mother. So there's different design factors that we've looked at and that we've designed around to try and help people that have those heavy loads in their operation.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. That must be a new product. Because we run into the field, we're across a variety of industries, right? Automotive, industrial manufacturing, food, whatever. And we find when it comes to ergonomics specifically, it seems, there are, quote unquote standards out there, but it seems every company is very particular on their own ergonomic standards. And we run into, they're not always quite the same. Do you guys run into that when you're out in the field?
We absolutely do, and back to even back to Curtis' earlier statement that a good caster really helps. We're not going in with one caster either. We're working with your whole arsenal of casters that each one can make a difference depending on the scenario. So yeah, we run into that. We can address that with the different casters that you help us put together, and we can also address that sometimes with just changing load sizes a little bit.
Yeah, I think the push pull from an ergo standpoint is probably one of the most challenging because there are no set standards for the industry.
Yeah.
OSHA doesn't have a requirement like they do for lifting a box off the ground, right? And I think that goes into, I know you guys did your study with the Ohio State University, and it's that tool, right? It's the mechanism that I use to determine what is my push pull. It is so subjective. Even the handles that we had custom made that have $5,000 cells in them that are as sensitive as you could possibly get, I can still make that ergo spike depending on uh, my technique of pushing the cart. So training is a key factor in the operation when you're setting up new standard routes and pushing carts is new to an operation. Let the casters do the work for you. I mean, that's really what is a key thing that helps an operator with the push pull. If you don't get into it super aggressive and try and man the weight and you just let the casters get rolling, then that really helps keep your push pull readings down compared to if I get in there and I go really aggressive at it and I push it as hard as I possibly can with all my body weight. Now you're putting that operator into a position where you're gonna you're gonna be subjective to injuries that way.
For sure.
So a lot of it you can help them just by training them on how to push the cart. Um, and that will help in some of these scenarios.
Yeah, even just looking at the orientation of the casters is just a simple step that can, maybe prevent an injury and definitely reduce the amount of force required to get the cart going.
Spoken like a couple of guys that's been through Caster College somewhere.
Yes, yes, Boyd.
Our designs are rugged. They're well thought through. We'd like to think so anyhow from an ergonomic perspective. But when you're talking about manual push and pull, it casters are paramount in that discussion. And so the loads, the PFEPs, everything that's been talked about so far is important, but you still have to put the right equipment in front of them, and a big part of that is your casters. So it's worked very well for us.
So,
Thank you, Boyd.
oh yeah, as we're talking about the ergo challenges, whether it be mother daughters, Carry-matic, you know, probably over the past 12 months, 18 months, there's probably been a push towards automation. And, Curtis, you mentioned AGVs, MIRs, just to make sure everyone's on the same page here, can you explain what a AGV is and what's the difference between an MIR and a VGV? Because they're the same, but different, right? So they all work in a same way, but they're all different. And, there are pros and cons of each one.
Acronyms, Curtis. Enlighten.
Yeah. So, and we're actually seeing a swing in this to where people are really gravitating towards AMR being kind of that acronym that everybody wants to get bundled into. But like a C grid unit, for example, a VGV, that's a vision guided unit. So it's a standard 10,000 pound stand up, like a normal mechanical operator gets on it and drives it, and then they install their supervisor package on there that has their lidars and all their cameras, and then their supervisor package is their PLCs and how they communicate. And so that is a scenario where I have my standard route established. I already know where I'm going. I know where my drop off points and my pickup points are going to be. I can literally just jump on that unit, hit program, run the route manually. I'm driving it. It still has a steering wheel. I drive the route, and that thing is just taking thousands of pictures over and over and over again. It's called localization. It's localizing itself with the environment. I run that route one time, and it says, "Yep, I got it. I hit it," and it'll run that route over and over and over again, same route over and over and over again. And then the integration portion of it comes into play at that point on what are my call outs, where do I go, am I picking up at A, B, and C over and over and over again? That's a super easy one, right? Go to A, go to B, go to C, drop everything off at D. Those are the easy ones. When I have a route where I'm going to deliver in different zones at different times, that integration gets into more programming and more communication with the PLC and the WMS. But for the sake of this conversation, let's just think of it as a VGV is a vision guided unit. It's self-driving, and you program the route of where it goes and picks up and where it drops off, and it's just going to run that route over and over again without a person on the equipment. There's two ways that we've seen people and what they pull behind that unit. You can have autonomous solutions like our Carrymatic, where I'm transferring hands-free, person-free. There's nobody involved in the transfers. Or we have people that pull mechanical carts behind that. I eliminate the person that is driving the unit, and then I just utilize my water spiders out there on the line, the people that they don't have an assigned job on the assembly line. They're not tightening nuts and bolts all day long. They're water spiders. They bounce around the entire zone that they're responsible for. They help cover people at breaks. They open boxes. They get people's supplies ready for them. Like, they're responsible to make sure that value added person is at that unit all day long with everything that they need, and they don't ever have to come out of their cell to go look for parts, material, for tools, for anything. They incorporate that water spider for the cart delivery system in that scenario. So that water spider operator would come out, grab the daughter carts off, grab the empties, push them back on, release the VGV, and it would take off. So those are kind of very high level how a VGV would operate. And then you have an AMR, which is an autonomous mobile robot. And I think the robot aspect of it is what people are gravitating for. They want that robot to be in the name. Traditionally, an AMR, that's a unit that's it's kind of like a tunneler, if you will. So it's a smaller robot, You can program it the same way as that VGV, right? It's got LiDARs and sensors, and you can program it to go to different locations to drop off and pick up. And it either tunnels under a cart and pins it, or raises the cart up and takes that cart individually to its drop off point, or you can put attachments on top of that AMR, which is in our Carrymatic product line, where I have powered roller tops, I have scissor lifts, I have things that when I get there, I can transfer off hands free, no human interaction, and now I just have this little AMR that's running around the plant, and you may get 30 or 35 of these things, and they're just running around, um, performing these standard routes. And instead of it tugging something, it's just taking individual single carriers. We can also do a dual bay powered conveyor on top of that, where I can take two. So there's different things, but AMR is autonomous mobile robots, and they come in all kinds of different sizes. So you can get units that are 200-pound weight capacities all the way up to 3,000-pound weight capacities, and the units are different. But you got to think of them as, it's just a very low profile. It's about 3 foot wide, 4 foot long, for the higher weight capacities, and it just runs to different drop off and pickup points, and you can either have autonomous solution on top of it, or it can take carts out to the line. It can take pallets too. You just do a pallet station out there, where it would, you just imagine you would have like two runners that are 3 foot apart from each other, and the pallet extends out past the AMR, and it just drives right through those two rail systems. And when it hits the spot where you tell it you're good, it does a handshake and says, "Yep, I'm where I'm supposed to be." It would just drop down, and then that pallet stays on that pallet stand, and the AMR takes off from underneath of it. So most of the AMRs have scissor lift capabilities, where they have like 8 inches of stroke. So when I get under something, I raise up 8 inches. Now I have the load. I take off, and then when I go to drop it off, I get to the point. I do my handshake. I say, "Yep, I'm all lined up. I'm ready." Now I drop down that 8 inches, and that pallet sits on that stand that's anchored to the floor, and then the AMR just pulls out from underneath of it, takes off, and it's on to its next task.
Very cool. Autonomous Mobile Robot is an excellent band name as well.
Absolutely.
I think everybody's dictionary is a little bit different there. I think when you go to talk to a customer, you just have to say, what are you specifically talking about? Because people will call them BGVs, AGVs, AMRs. I don't think that there's a, outside of the
Yeah.
realm of people that deal with them
They're
day in
they're
and day
fairly
out.
they're fairly loose
That,
terms for just
that
kind of describing
very much.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gotcha. No, that's very helpful, and that is, as Eric mentioned, that does seem to be definitely a big trend in the industry. Trying to get that repetition. And as you mentioned, Curtis, people are struggling to find operators and employees in these weirdo times, and companies need to prepare for that. And companies like JTec are offering solutions that fit that mold. So that's excellent to hear, and you guys should be extremely proud of what the product lines that you guys have.
Where do you think material handling world's headed in the next couple of years, 3 to 5 years? I mean, it seems like the automation thing's not going to really be changing. But what do you guys see out in the field? Like, where's the big push going to be?
You said that in one word: autonomy. And that's just going to get better and smarter. I mean, it's as far as how we deliver loads, what we deliver with, the equipment, the navigation that the AMRs are able to use. Who knows where it's going to be in 3 to 5 years, but it will be in that autonomous area, in my opinion, for sure.
Yeah, and I think you'll see, especially on the supply chain, the DCs of the world, all of your distribution centers. I think you'll see more and more people going to conveyance, which is, part of that autonomous solution. It's not always just how you're moving big material and things throughout a warehouse with autonomous solutions like we've been talking about, but it's just putting in as much conveyor as you possibly can. So I have operators that are picking things out in the racking, and I'm just putting it on a conveyor and letting the conveyor take it all the way to a packing station where I'm going to pack it up and put it on a truck and get rid of it. And that's going to be, there's a big push, and we see it all the time, even within manufacturing operations now. People are putting in more and more conveyor to move things overhead, finished goods going out, knocking holes in walls, and taking things straight through, to shipping lane. So I agree. I think that you're just going to continue seeing more automation in different applications spread out through the entire industry.
No, I mean that makes sense. So so what I'm investing in AMRs, because you normally have lots of those. In a plan it could be what, 50, 75, 100 of those things depending on your size, and I'm not too hip to the current cost, but I'm sure they're not cheap. What's the ROI when you implement 50 AMRs in your facility? Like what's the time frame on getting that investment back? Any ideas?
That's wide open, Eric. I mean, everyone looks at ROIs a little bit differently.
Sure.
Um, and again, with the soft costs Curtis mentioned, is how do you put a number on some of those soft costs? But our ROI, there has to be that number, that time frame in there. But today it's seems to me it's been more around personnel and being able to actually move material and having a way to do it versus relying on people or not being able to get people. So there's kind of it's kind of a dual-edged sword now between the people availability and the ROI. But they're all figured differently, so I don't know that there's a right answer to that.
It's all
Yeah,
facility
I
specific.
think what I've seen, in a lot of our, projects that we've had up until this point, or the conversations that you have in the very beginning infant stages, when you're just collecting all that scope information. I'm going to say that the operations that are serious about going to an autonomous solution and that have the budget for it, I'm going to say that there's not even an ROI on it. And that sounds shocking, but I was at a major appliance manufacturer for box stores, a major one, and a guy drives by me on a tugger, and he's in slacks and a button up. And I asked my contact, I said, "Man, that guy's really excited to be a route driver. He's really dressed up to be a route driver, man." I was like, "Is that normal?" And he said, "That's an area manager of the plant." And I was like, "Excuse me?" And he said he's been running a route for 3 weeks just to get material to his line so he can keep production running. And I think when the manpower issue that we're seeing in North America right now, especially in manufacturing, is a very, very serious implication on people hitting numbers and getting behind. And with supply chain shortages and them not being able to get material, once you start taking units out days at a time, weeks at a time, There isn't enough overtime in the world to ever make that up, ever. So you're just pushing lead time out. You are just giving up revenue on sales because you can't manufacture what your order bank is saying that you should be manufacturing. And once these guys start losing time and it's costing them 2,000 a unit, 5,000 a unit, 10,000 a unit, depending on what they're making, you make decisions like this based off those factors. And I don't necessarily see it being kind of plugged into a traditional ROI. It's I'm losing money because I can't manufacture what my order base, what my customer is saying they need, what they want. I can't hit those numbers. And that gets pulled into an ROI factor to say, I don't care what it costs.
Yeah.
Figure out a solution that can deliver this that doesn't require an operator being here every day.
Yeah.
And that's really one of the driving factors in a lot of these projects that we're seeing.
Yeah. Opportunity cost is massive, and these are definitely long-term investments. You know, that tackle the challenges with labor shortage, and stop loss, accidents, or all of those things come into play when you're making the decisions to go towards autonomy. And like Boyd said at the beginning, like that this that trend is set, and it's not going away. If anything, it's going to gain more steam and have a wider reach, especially as technology becomes better and smarter, as Boyd said.
Yeah, and I mean, the production issues, and we see it too, right? But if everyone's moving to autonomous, what's the lead time, on a Seagrid VGV? What's the lead time if I want 50 mirrors? Like, is that affected too? I mean, do you guys know? I'm sure you guys have some insight into that. I mean,
Yeah, Eric, lead times have went up. I'm going to say tremendously over the last year, and that's based on supply chain, component availability, all the factors that everyone out there is fighting right now, and most certainly would understand. But you're not ordering a tongue and hitch cart that can be delivered in 6 or 8 weeks at this point. You're dealing with the electronic world, the PLCs, the programming, the planning, and I mean, it's not uncommon at all to be 4 to 6 months to implement a small to medium-sized system.
wow. I mean, that's a long time.
It's a long time. Yes, sir. That's what all my customers tell me. That's a long time.
Do better, Boyd.
Yeah. Yes. I've heard that a time or two as well.
Yeah, I think we all have.
Yeah.
Curtis and Boyd, we've talked a lot about AGVs and autonomous and Carrymatic and a lot of different types of tugger solutions. But could you dive a little deeper on what sets JTec apart? What does JTec do extremely well in the industry, and what sets you guys apart in this world of material handling?
Sure, be happy to. I would tell you that regardless of which of our product lines, our designs and the thought put into designs, the equipment that we have to produce those designs efficiently, repeatability wise on those designs, is a big factor. But at the end of the day, generally speaking, JTec supports their partners. They're not customers, they're partners. Supports them to the nth degree. We will work with our customers. If there's problems, we'll work with our customers, be it design, be it a process problem, whatever the case may be. But we support what we produce. We support what we sell. And I think that that's a big thing that sets us apart. And specifically, if we go into the Carrymatic realm, then I think that there you have to look at it as we provide a system in Carrymatic. So we're not just a cart being pulled behind an AGV or an AMR. We are the system that communicates with the AGVs, communicates with current or our line side product that we provide. So we're that entire system, and I think that's big. We we can we can certainly support that system remotely. If it's something that we can't handle remotely, then we are the first to hop in a car or hop on a plane and try and mitigate any problems that our customers have. And not a lot of companies out there do that. I mean, we can talk to an existing system. We can integrate with that. We integrate with the AGV or AMR people. So again, it's a system, and that's what sets us apart. That and the support and the availability to support and all of the all of the years that we have of experience, but between our teams, it's almost untouched out there, in my opinion. And Curtis, please tack on and add on to that.
No, yeah, those are all really good points that really define who we are. I think I would just add that we're a family at JTec. I mean, that's really just a true statement. We're a family run business, so we have people that are truly passionate and care about what decisions we make that represent JTec every single day. And I think that's hard to find. That's a dynamic that most companies probably struggle with when they make hires and the people that they're onboarding. We truly have a scenario at JTec where I am confident that every single person that I put out there in the field that has a conversation with customers, or every single field tech, every single um, startup that we do, the people that the engineers that we send for implementations on the autonomous side, the field guys that are setting everything up. I mean, there's a sense of pride that I'm representing JTec right now. I'm representing this company, and I want to make sure that the what that customer sees is impeccable customer service. And I think that's through and through. That's in our blood, and it doesn't need trained. It doesn't. It You just get that sense when you on board with JTec that that's the way we're set up, and that goes right over into our design capabilities and the things that the conversations that we have internally when we're designing a system or when we're designing a card application. We're keeping those things, that's our core competency. I mean, that's what we're thinking of when we do these designs, and that bleeds right into our quality. We over design. We want to put a cart in a customer. We're never the cheapest, I'll tell you that right now. JTec's not going to be the cheapest solution that you can go out there and find. But our customer service and our quality that we put out there in the field is second to none. And that goes into all of our design options that we have. We partner with the absolute best caster company in the world. And that goes into the way that our equipment is perceived by customers, and the word of mouth that we get from that is really what sets us apart. Once that person, that company makes that initial plunge and they go with our system, it's amazing how we spread through everybody that's affiliated with that plant. The majority of our customer portfolio, if if you got a big name that has 7 or 8 plants in North America, there's a chance that if we got in one, we're in all 7. And then we we branch off from that into their tier ones and tier twos. And that's really one of the big things that separates us is all those things together just kind of give you that sense that JTec is always going to be there for me. Always. If I have an issue, they're going to be there. If something fails, they're going to take ownership of it and they're going to be there on the spot. You guys have partnered with us on some of our field failures that was on JTec, and you saw how we reacted. It's just the way we are. We want to make things right if we make a mistake or if we have a design flaw or if we didn't fully understand all of the environment that cart's going to be pulled in, and we didn't take into account some of the things that caused some failures within our design. We're there on the spot right now. We're fixing it. We're making it right for the customer, and then they know, like to Boyd's point, we're not a cart supplier. We're not a cart order taker. We're a partner of yours. We're a solution provider. I want to be part of your team. I want to make sure that you don't make mistakes that I've already seen in the industry that people make, and that really does put us a leg up. I don't just walk in and go, "How many carts do you want?"
Sure.
I'm going to help you design and implement from start to finish to make sure that you don't make the same mistakes that we've seen other people in the industry and that we've learned from over the years. We help guide those decisions through from the very beginning to the very end.
Yeah.
Curtis, you and I have never really sold a car, but we've sold a lot of relationships and a whole lot of solutions in our time.
For sure.
I also think the other thing that sets us apart is that we put a lot of effort, a lot of time, a lot of research into staying on the front end of the material handling world. We're not followers in that material handling world. We are leaders and innovators that try and stay up front with what's next, what's best, how can we help our customers out the best. So you put all of that together, and we're a pretty strong company.
You're tugging the material handling industry in the right direction, Boyd?
We would sure like to think so. That's well put, Joe.
Yeah. and
we may use that in the future, by the way.
by all means. Curtis,
I'm already making a T-shirt right now.
Yeah.
Curtis, you hit on something about price and not being the cheapest, and I think that's a whole nother discussion about price and cost. But I don't think anybody that's already listened this far has any more time to get into something that deep. But that's something to think about when you talk about price and cost, and those are completely two different things. That is part of the discussion when you're talking about the cost of a solution. Not just the price on a quote or a piece of paper. And we've hit a lot of those topics in the discussion today. So just wanted to make that point.
Yeah. Good point. Valid point. Thanks.
Yeah.
So as we are coming up to a trade show called MODEX, which would be probably one of the largest trade shows in the material handling world, is the JTec team going to be exhibiting at MODEX? And if so, what's your booth number so the listeners can swing on by?
Our booth number at MODEX is B as in Bravo 8626.
Very good. Boyd, you were going to mention that you guys are you have your own booth with your product line, and then you're also going to be on display and some other partners that are going to be have booths at the event as well.
Correct. Yeah, we will have our entire product line at the booth that Curtis just gave you the number of. And we will also be in Sigrid's booth with a Carrymatic system that will consist of a cart and stations that will be able to show people what we move around with the powered roller carts. And then we will also be in Otto's or ClearPath booth with a scissors lift attachment on the top of one of their AMRs. So we will be strong in Atlanta this year. We will have product in 3 different locations. Please find us.
Very good. Caster Connection will also be there. I don't know what our booth number is, so.
That way, Eric.
But we'll be there. Thanks so much for the time, gentlemen. I think we had great discussions, a lot of good topics that we went over. Any last parting words that either of you would like to say?
No, but it's noon in Florida, and you can bet where I'm headed right now.
Fair enough, BK. Enjoy your afternoon. Well, thanks, Curtis. Thanks, Boyd. We appreciate your time. Everyone out there, stop on by Modex. Stop by the booth. And if not, Curtis, what's the JTec website, if you don't mind dropping that real quick, just in case?
It's www.jtecindustries.com. And then we also have a www.jtecproducts.com that showcases the 4 different product lines. So those are our 2 websites.
Oh, very good.
Awesome.
Well, thanks, Curtis. Thanks, Boyd. Joseph,
Yeah.
thanks for your time today.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Thank you,
Yep.
guys.
Thanks, gentlemen.
Yep.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Industrial Lens. We will see you next time.